The Achaemenians are known for being one of the greatest ancient empires in history. They controlled a massive amount of land from Central Asia to the Mediterranean. The empire was also very diverse, ruling over many different peoples and cultures. However, despite their great empire, little is known about them today. Most people have never even heard of them. So how did this happen? And what is the story behind the name of the Achaemenians? Welcome to my channel. Today we will be answering these questions and learning about the first king of the Achaemenian Empire. The origin story of the Achaemenians is actually pretty similar to that of the Romans or Greeks. According to their own accounts, the people who created the empire were descended from a legendary ancestor. While there may not be much evidence for these claims, they still show us how the Achaemenians saw themselves. This legend goes back to the mythical founder of the Achaemenian people, Achaemenes. He was said to be the son of a Persian king named Teispes. When Teispes died, his widow took the throne and ruled as a woman. Some scholars believe that she was also called Achaemenes, but that is disputed. Regardless, she had two sons, Achaemenes and her favorite, Arsames. At this point, the kingdom was centered around the region of Pars, which is modern-day Fars province in Iran. When the queen mother died, Arsames seized power, but he wasn't able to hold it for long. He was soon defeated by a nomadic tribe called the Medes. To escape, Arsames fled to Mesopotamia and settled in the city of Susa. It would become the second capital of the Achaemenian Empire, but at this time, it was nothing more than a provincial town. After some time, Arsames returned to Persepolis with an army to reclaim his lost lands. He was successful, but was soon killed in battle. He was succeeded by his son, whose name was most likely Cambyses I. Despite the name change, some historians consider him to be the first Achaemenian king. This is because he was the first ruler who called his people Achaemenians after himself. While the legend has some holes in it, it does help us understand the mindset of the Achaemenians. They thought of themselves as a new people with a unique identity. They used the name of their mythical founder to rally everyone under one banner. Just like Rome was destined to rule the Mediterranean or Greece was destined to spread democracy, the Achaemenians believed that they were meant to create an empire. But before we move on to the rise of the empire, if you're enjoying this video, please hit that like button. Now let's get back to learning about the Achaemenians. The next king was Cyrus the Great. He is considered to be the true founder of the Achaemenian Empire. His reign marked the beginning of a new era in world history. Cyrus ruled from 559 to 530 BC. During his reign, he conquered Media and Lydia to the west, Central Asia to the east, the Arabian Peninsula to the south, and Mesopotamia to the north. By the end of his life, he ruled over a larger empire than any of his predecessors. But Cyrus didn't just conquer new lands, he also reformed the way the empire was run. He organized a professional military, collected taxes, and built new roads. These policies helped to stabilize the empire and made it easier for the citizens to travel around. But perhaps the most important thing that Cyrus did was to allow the people who lived in his empire to keep their religion and customs. In fact, he even encouraged cultural diversity. He built temples and shrines all across the empire and appointed people of different religions to important positions in government. This policy of religious tolerance made the Achaemenian Empire very attractive to outsiders. People from all over the Mediterranean and Middle East came to live in Cyrus's empire. Cyrus was also very interested in cultural achievements. He commissioned the building of many impressive structures, including the Temple of Artemis, one of the ancient world's 7 wonders. Cyrus also built new cities and resettled people from all over his empire within them. This policy of cultural mixing helped to create a sense of unity among the diverse peoples of the empire. People from all over the Achaemenian world came to live in these cities and exchange ideas with one another. However, not everyone was happy with the way that Cyrus ruled. Many of the Persians felt that he was too interested in the cultures of the people he had conquered, and not enough in their own. They also felt that he was too lenient on the Jews. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell and leave a comment for us. Your support and energy will help us to be energetic and prepare the best videos for you, friends. Because the best is your right, friends, who were allowed to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. These tensions would eventually lead to the downfall of the Achaemenian Empire, but that wouldn't happen for several centuries. When Cyrus died in 530 BC, he left his empire to his son Cambyses II. Cambyses continued his father's policy of religious tolerance and cultural exchange. He also expanded the empire into Egypt, Nubia, and parts of Eastern Europe. However, Cambyses was a cruel and eccentric ruler. He delighted in torturing his enemies and even chained women to chariots like horses and whipped them as they pulled him around. After Cambyses died in 522 BC, the Achaemenid Empire fell into chaos. There was a civil war between the Persians and the Babylonians. Eventually, a Persian aristocrat named Darius I seized power and restored order to the empire. Like Cyrus, Darius was a brilliant administrator and reformer. He reorganized the government, built new roads, and established a new currency. He also launched a series of military campaigns to expand the empire. By the end of his reign, Darius ruled over a larger empire than any of his predecessors. However, not everyone was happy with the way that Darius ruled. The Egyptians, Babylonians, and other subject peoples resented Persian control and longed for the days when they were independent. Darius's successors would face constant rebellions and invasions from these peoples. Despite these problems, Darius's descendants were able to maintain the empire for several centuries. The last Achaemenid king was Belshazzar. He was the nephew of Darius, and he inherited the throne in 550 BC. During Belshazzar's reign, the empire was in decline. The military was weak, and the treasury was nearly empty. In 539 BC, the Persians invaded and captured Babylon, ending the Achaemenid Empire. The Achaemenids were known for being one of the greatest empires in history. They ruled over a massive amount of land from Central Asia to the Mediterranean. The empire was also very diverse, ruling over many different peoples and cultures. However, despite their great empire, little is known about them today. Most people have never even heard of them. So why is that? Well, the answer is simple. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell and leave a comment for us. Your support and energy will help us to be energetic and prepare the best videos for you, friends. Because the best is your right, friends. The Achaemenids didn't leave behind much in the way of written records. Most of what we know about them comes from the writings of their enemies, such as the Greeks and Babylonians. These sources are often biased against the Achaemenids and don't always paint an accurate picture of their culture and achievements. Additionally, the Achaemenids didn't build many monuments or works of art that would have helped to preserve their culture. What little they did create has either been lost or destroyed. For example, the great palaces at Persepolis were burned to the ground in the 4th century BC, and little remains of them today. However, despite the lack of material evidence, we can still piece together a fairly accurate picture of the Achaemenids. Through the archaeological record, we can see that they were a highly sophisticated and advanced civilization. They developed new technologies, built impressive structures, and created a unique art style. The Achaemenids were also a religiously tolerant empire. They allowed people of all faiths to practice their religion freely and even build shrines and temples to various gods. This policy of religious tolerance made the empire more stable and helped to foster cultural exchange between different peoples. Overall, the Achaemenids were a remarkable civilization. They created one of the largest empires in ancient history and made significant contributions to art, architecture, and technology. Although they didn't leave behind much in the way of written records or material evidence, we can still learn a lot about them through archaeology and the writings of their enemies. The Achaemenids were a truly great empire, and their legacy lives on today. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Achaemenids. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching.